Salut YouTube, on enchaîne avec... Enfin, on enchaîne, non. Allez, hop. Salut YouTube, on continue la suite de la continuité, de la continuation de The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Ouais, je sais pas où j'allais avec cette phrase. Donc voilà, c'est toujours aussi what the fuck, c'est toujours aussi drôle. Let's go. Ah, je suis pas fatigué. Excite. Voilà.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Il manque 5 collectibles. Toujours mon saut à caca. Oh.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not
Oula.
it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's
Il y a le
potential
saut,
here, right?
il y a le trou, il y a la machine achievement, il y a les sauts.
Hold on. Let me do a different
Le bouton qui dit,
Okay, yes.
qui dit Jim.
This is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
Oula.
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Quoi? Waouh. Du coup, j'ai accès au menu de présentation, mais ils ont changé les couleurs. Au menu de présentation, pardon, au menu de paramètres. Ils ont changé la présentation en changeant les couleurs. Ah, cliquez pour passer.
Stanley worked for a
Avec les ballons.
building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job.
Pour ceux qui ont raté le début du jeu, voilà.
Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened.
Stanley
Something that would
Parable.
forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single
Il a mis 1 heure quand même à réaliser ça.
arrived on the monitor for him to follow.
Pédale pas très vite,
No
hein.
one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers
Les petits ballons.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Il y a le saut. Ah. Oh no.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
C'est bon, j'ai ramassé le seau à caca. Ah, New Content, il était là.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Moi j'écoute ce qu'on me dit. Hein, c'est le bruit du seau que j'entends.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh,
Toujours rien ici.
can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket.
Quoi?
I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies.
C'est quoi cette voix?
Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning
Ah non, mais pas.
comments.
Stanley, il
Expand
parle
on
pas.
the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Bon.
Okay, coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket
Ah, je crois que j'aurais pu rester.
to the boss's office.
Ah, attends, c'est pas la même chose. To be rich, is it crime? To commit crime, isn't it rich? What a life it would be to have to pick just one. Quoi? Ah!
You found one of them. One of the miniature
Et de
Stanley
deux!
figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of
Je
these.
disais, j'ai l'impression que le visage derrière c'était Macron. Vous verrez au prochain truc qu'on trouve. Hein. Alors c'est quoi le code?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Mais
Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of it. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
ouais, surtout parce que je m'en souviens. Oh!
Another miniature Stanley figure.
Et de 3!
This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like
Stanlerine.
that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
On a 3 sur 6. Incroyable. Le seau à caca. On s'en va le titre également. Ok, on sort moins le quart.
It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in his darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Du coup, je dois avoir la même fin. Sortie Escape.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Ah bon?
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Mais du coup, est-ce que je fais une histoire alternative ou c'est l'histoire de base, on va juste rajouter des phrases avec le saut? Un trou sans fond. Ce n'était pas un trou sans fond. Oula. Ah.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket,
je veux pas être
but what
sproached.
use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
Ça s'est arrêté.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal doors.
Quoi? C'est qui?
In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Ok. D'accord.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Le sceau vous accueille à la grande exposition. Vous vous tenez au bord du savoir. Tout comme un sceau, l'esprit humain est souvent vide à l'intérieur, un vide caverneux. Mais grâce à l'exposition qui se présente à vous, l'esprit peut se remplir, s'enrichir et être satisfait. Les connaissances du sceau et son histoire sont les seules que nous ayons véritablement. Utiliserez-vous ce que vous apprenez ici dans le monde extérieur? Accepterez-vous l'esprit ouvert, ce qui peut paraître complexe quant aux informations de cette exposition? Changerez-vous votre vie et la vie de vos proches suite à cette exposition? Ou fermerez-vous les yeux pour continuer à vivre comme avant, dans l'ignorance et l'obscurité? Ok. Ah, j'ai plus mon seau d'ailleurs.
Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own. Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Ah, pardon. Ça fait beaucoup de seaux. 25 seaux. Ah, il y en a plus que 25. Une photographie de 25 seaux, le plus grand nombre de seaux pris en photo à ce jour. Le photographe a souffert d'une catatonie de plusieurs semaines causée par l'euphorie de l'exposition à tant de seaux à la fois. Alors, je pense pas être mauvais en maths, et je suis presque sûr que là, il y a plus de 25 seaux. Hein. Vous en comptez combien, là? Il y en a au moins 30. Hein. Facile, il y en a au moins 30. Le sceau infernal. Une reproduction du sceau infernal qui, au Moyen-Âge, avait un attrait si intense que des dizaines de pays s'affrontèrent pour en obtenir le contrôle. Il y eut des milliards de morts, et malgré tout, ce simple fait demeure. Personne ne peut contrôler un sceau. Dessin de grotte. Si nous savons que les sceaux précèdent l'existence de l'humanité, nous ne savons pas de combien de temps. Ce dessin d'une grotte illustre la découverte humaine précoce des commodités du sceau. À cette époque, le sceau existait déjà depuis plusieurs millénaires. Observez dans ces dessins comme le sceau se laisse utiliser, ayant jugé les êtres humains comme étant dignes de ces trésors. Plic, plic, plic. On met le sceau en dessous. Plic, 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 plic. Et les animaux peuvent boire.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
Cette œuvre symbolise la relation nécessaire entre le sceau et l'humanité. Quel que soit ce que nous comprenons sur le sceau, il y a toujours plus de connaissances qui restent inaccessibles. Cette distance est forcément pour notre bien. Le sceau accroché. Ah non! Ah, ben j'ai pris le sceau.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets
what the
from their
fuck?
treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision for...
I've been sproached.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks.
Il a vraiment cliqué 5 fois sur la porte 430.
I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks.
Oh putain.
Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
Je les ai fait les 50 clics depuis tout à l'heure. Ah, ça me rappelle Clickholding. Le fun.
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Je veux bien, mais elle est où? Le comité des trouveurs de figurines. 417. Non, je reprends pas le sauce aussi.
Oh, great. Now, go click a few times on door 437.
Je crois que c'était plus en arrière, 437. Là.
Excellent. I think we're getting somewhere. Now, door 415.
Qu'est-ce que je suis en train de faire? Combien? 415? Oh punaise.
Now, back to door number 437.
Pourquoi je m'affiche ça?
Let's see. How about you click on, well, I don't know, the copy machine. All right, back to room 417. I'm really feeling it now. I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, now go climb on employee 419's desk.
Il est où? Je peux pas sauter de toute façon. 419? Ouais, je peux pas sauter. 422, 418, 420, 419. Ah.
Yes!
Mais putain!
This is great! You're putting it all on the line, Stanley. I like that. All right, let's keep it up. Go give me a few clicks on door 416.
Celle-là.
We've almost got it! Now the copy machine do that one again!
Oh mais je vais trop. Ah oui, vas-y, continue. Ah, j'en peux plus.
Finish it off, Stanley! 5 clicks on door 430!
1, 2, 3, 4 et 5. Le succès.
Oh, wow. That felt amazing. Oh, you really earned it, Stanley. Nothing could hold you back. Yes, I'm very proud of how far
Punaise.
we've come today. Just think, only a few minutes ago, you believed an achievement was worth 5 little clicks. Really now, what were you thinking? When Stanley came to a set of two
Non,
open
je vais à
doors,
droite.
this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first
Non,
open door
je vais
on
tout
his
droit ce
left.
coup-ci.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
D'accord, ok. Où suis-je? Attention, ne mentez pas. Si vous mentez maintenant, arrêtez. D'accord.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
Mais
Good job, Stanley.
tout à l'heure, je pouvais faire des grands sauts et j'avais pas mal au genou. Là, ma vitesse a encore frappé.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
Faut que je trouve les ordinateurs, tu sais, où je dois appuyer X fois. Est-ce que je peux me foutre en l'air avec le sauce? Avec le saut, pardon, avec le sauce.
into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
2 ans.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place.
Ah non, 25 mois. Merci beaucoup, Vigraf. Purée, 25 mois.
And here it was. Had the bucket
Ah, t'as ton petit badge first, hein. T'as depuis le début.
Yes, Stanley thought to him. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door.
Du coup, t'as des phrases différentes avec le saut, quoi, en fait.
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The car. But
Ah, bah non.
feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms.
Je crois que ça change juste les phrases, mais la finalité est la même. Ok, bon. On va faire... Sans le saut.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
Je vais voir les autres succès là. Succès test, 8888. Champion du monde de paramétrage. Placez tous les curseurs de réglage du menu sur tous les chiffres disponibles. Mais quel troll. Ne jouez pas The Stanley... Oh putain, ils l'ont refait du coup. Lens Banner. Va jouer dehors. Ne jouez pas à The Stanley Parable pendant 10 ans. Et jouer à The Stanley Parable pendant tout un mardi. Mais putain.
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. A cargo lift. Yeah, good, said the bucket. Now ride
Ah, il y a un collectible là-bas.
way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do. Stanley did not question why
Comment
or
je vais faire
how
pour le
this bucket
récupérer?
was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Je trouve comment accéder à cette plateforme-là.
In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here. Stanley, once again, obeyed blindly.
Il a une voix affreuse, le saut. Mais je l'écoute, je l'écoute.
Now pick up the phone, said the bucket. Pick up the phone, and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together. Hold on. Why did you
Je voulais voir si on pouvait le faire. Bon, on peut débrancher le téléphone.
To resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things. Buckets can't talk. It was a joke. Don't you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket. Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it. But there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to
follow. Bouton skip?
Wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look. What is comedic timing? What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body.
Pas trop bas, après c'est bizarre.
Optimal conditions for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time.
Mais quoi?
With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny with the funny" now. Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long. It should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter.
Les dessins sont terrifiants.
In no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invaders who threaten our very existence, and who very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives.
Wow, la vache, c'est parti très loin très vite.
Our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
Okay.
Hey, goodness, this video is a little outdated, isn't it? Well, no matter. I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again, so I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
Je peux le rebrancher? Ok. Ok. Comment j'accède du coup? Collectible. Ah non, il y est plus. Et maintenant, je peux plus sauter de la plateforme.
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in
Oh
stitches.
punaise,
A
accrochez-vous.
talking bucket, you'll say. How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now. Well, I wouldn't be the king of comedy, that's for sure. The bucket spoke to Stanley. The bucket spoke. The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
Ok. Ah ben on revient en arrière du coup. Avec mon seau à caca.
Here we
Ok.
go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There were supposed to be several rooms leading up to this. There was supposed to be a build-up to this point. A dramatic
C'est devenu
display of
Starship Trooper,
remarkable
exactement.
comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the 2 doors room. What an egregious mistake. I've made a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp. I think...
Ah non, 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 c'est bon. Non, non, pardon.
That instructional video again. Yes, surely that will help me improve my... Here we go.
Ah.
You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set...
Alors du coup, si je le refais, on retombe dans la même boucle.
What? We're back at the phone already? No.
Ah. Le jeu est sympa.
You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors,
Et si vraiment j'insiste.
What? We're back at the phone already? No.
Bon, ok, porte de gauche.
You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of 2 open doors, they entered the door on the left. No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple video and take a hint. Are you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud? Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Let me try that again, Stanley.
Est-ce que c'est vraiment la fin?
You are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? Is it the delivery? Pale with shame. Pale with shame? Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket? Stanley, this bucket is so metal. I think I saw it playing guitar.
Il le refait avec Unity du coup.
No. We're getting away from making fun of Stanley.
Kevin Brighting, la personne à la narration.
I'm no good at these jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy again. More
Il a planté le générique. Ah, il est plus
How
haut.
long was I sitting there? Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries?
Quoi?
Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time from now on.
Non, je prends pas le saut ce coup-ci.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, giddy in a way he had never known before. Was it this room? But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Moi, j'ai chopé le collectable.
Stanley was so bad at following directions
Mon
that
seul
incredible he wasn't 5
objectif.
years ago.
Ah, oh, oh, ah, oh. Et de 4.
I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number
Un petit chiffre dans le coin de son écran, c'est tellement ça.
Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Oula. Je suis où? Quoi? Public domain, maybe. Winnie the Pooh, ok.
Stanley had now gotten himself
I'm so confused.
far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office.
Narrateur dialogue, narrateur dialogue, narrateur.
That it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Ok.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
The end is never the end. On a plus le petit input sur les ordi là. On est à 3 je crois, 3 sur 5 ou 2 sur 5. Mais le bup. Bon, continuons.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Oui, bla
this was
bla
not
bla.
the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps too, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Alors,
Stanley was so bad at following
ça on a fait.
it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley,
Il y a un truc en bas, mais je sais pas comment je pourrais descendre sans me péter les genoux.
I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is
Faudra aller
that the
là-bas.
story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you forgot. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for
Danger
others?
everywhere.
Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it.
Ah.
Let me prove that I'm on your side.
Une porte rouge, une porte bleue.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
You're getting close
5 sur 6.
You've nearly gotten
Team rouge.
all the Figler and Marines.
Ah ouais?
Very soon, you'll collect
Tu
the
écoutes
first
ce qu'on te dit de
and
faire,
then the
Coca?
first number will equal the second number, and that will be it.
C'est bien.
We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense
Il y a une
that
voix
we
pour la team
used to
rouge pour
have
l'instant.
none of them. And
Let's go, la
now
team rouge.
we have them all. You'll conquer
Punaise,
that
je suis en train de
when
me-
you had no
m'auto-digérer.
Figler and Marines. None of us can.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I just...
Je tourne
I
en
wanted to
rond.
stop.
Ouais,
I
t'as
would-
raison. Bon,
we would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think, well, I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
bon d'accord.
What do we want? What are we looking for?
Qu'est-ce que...
Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Vous êtes détendu. Vous n'écoutez plus que le son de ma voix. Vous êtes bien. Vous êtes très bien ici. Pendant les 10 prochaines minutes, vous n'allez plus penser à vos soucis. Détendez-vous. Voilà, c'est fini. Ah, maintenant il est couleur verte.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Pardon, je retourne.
Right.
Ah,
Where were
il
we?
est prévu en plus que tu fasses aller-retour. Les murs ils sont pas peints.
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Ils sont pas dangereux les escaliers, ça va.
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Ah.
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. No!
Non mais je suis pas mort.
Thank God. You no. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please,
Oh mon Dieu,
I'm
mais...
asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Je me repose, ça fait juste un flash rouge. Et un bruit un peu désagréable pour les oreilles.
Stanley, let's go
Ah,
back
plus
to
ça va,
the
plus
other
t'es lent.
room. Can you do that for me? My God, is this really how much you dislike my game?
Ça me rappelle un petit peu
You'll throw yourself from this platform
There is
over
no
and over
game.
to be
Je sais
rid
pas
of
si
it?
vous vous souvenez, on l'avait fait en
You're
live.
literally willing to kill
Il y a longtemps
yourself to
maintenant.
keep me from being
Il y a pas très
happy.
longtemps.
Am I reading the situation correctly? maybe you're just getting a kick out of it.
Oh,
I
purée.
don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along.
Je
But I guess
dois
it was too
monter
much to
pour
ask.
descendre.
It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Il a l'air tout déprimé. Je vais être encore plus lent après.
Is it over?
Ah.
It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Ok.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Il reste un collectable.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. And here it was.
Si tu maintiens clic droit, tu peux avancer. J'ai gagné une main du
But
coup.
eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ah.
Stanley was so bad at
Donc on a fait la porte rouge.
directions, it's incredible he
Qu'est-ce que ça donne
wasn't
maintenant si on
5 years
fait
ago.
la porte bleue?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've... What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me
Allez.
prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a
La porte bleue.
chance.
On est d'accord que
Now
la
listen
porte rouge,
carefully,
j'avais
this
pas eu
is
de choix
important.
après.
Stanley walked
Mis à part
through the red door.
faire des allers-retours sur l'escalier.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Red.
All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this
Du coup, t'as
road you've
que
chosen?
des
Well,
dialogues
let me
alternatifs quand tu
stop
prends le saut. On va tester
You
ça.
see, there's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth
Texture en
ruining the
128 par
entire
128.
story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees?
Ah, skill tree.
Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback.
Alors ouais, à l'époque, la Lens Banner, ouais.
This already feels leaps ahead of where we were
Selling Light.
before.
Le jeu avait été fait avec le source SDK, ouais. Là, ils ont refait avec Unity, mais à l'époque... Est-ce que du coup, si je prends... Le chiant. Ah,
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real
on va mettre
critical
une
feedback
réponse
here.
au milieu.
Oh, of course. A 3. Really? Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual
C'est ça, ni 1 ni 5.
Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings? Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes.
En vrai
Wonderful.
En vrai, aujourd'hui, il n'y a pas assez de 3.
Here, based on the data from
C'est
your
soit tout blanc ou tout noir
previous
pour les gens.
I've compiled a new version, and to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park.
Regarde les reviews Steam. Les reviews Steam, c'est marqué, soit tu mets en positif, soit tu mets en négatif. Tu peux pas mettre... mettre, je sais pas moi, une note sur... Oh, le gameplay était... Enfin, j'aime pas les notes après aussi, mais... Stanley is online, this is you. Ah non, ça fait pas 7 heures qu'on joue au jeu par contre. Combien de temps ça va te prendre pour accéder à la bonne porte?
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helps you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Exactement, Coca. Mais des fois, il y a certains jeux, j'ai... Bon, je suis pas quelqu'un qui laisse beaucoup de reviews en fait, hein, mais... je vois... Enfin, j'ai pas envie de dire, soit j'ai aimé, soit j'ai pas aimé. Des fois, c'était... Bon, j'ai bien aimé, mais c'est perfectible sur certains points. Exactement, Lens. Bah tiens, on va en mettre un 3.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this
Ouais, pourquoi il y a un
game,
bébé?
baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him
Il a une
back
tête un
to
peu
the
bizarre.
right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours.
Ah, 4 heures,
why
ok.
don't you give it 4 hours of play to make
On
sure
va faire
it's
ça, hein.
effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Oh, le son, il est affreux. Alors, ça, c'est... Je suis... Attends, je vais baisser le son. Je suis tellement dedans. C'est tellement ça. Monstre ou pas monstre? Ah, pas monstre. C'est tellement ça. Tu prends ton gamin. Non, 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 attention, attention. Tu le mets ailleurs. Pof, il revient à l'endroit qui était dangereux. Mais... Ça peut être très long. Ça, peut-être que je monte un peu. Quelle horreur. Y'a pas un truc pour arrêter? Non! Je ne tuerai pas le bébé! Ça va être très long. Je crois que j'ai pas le choix. Hein. Il y a vraiment des gens qui l'ont fait pendant 4 heures. Bon. Un autoclic pendant 4 heures de stream d'autoclic de ça, juste pour voir. Bon, allez. C'est vraiment pour le stream, hein. Moi, j'aurais continué. Y'a rien qui va. Allez. Ah, je peux pas voir.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me?
Monstre, monstre, tu as laissé cuire le bébé.
I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Ah!
Aha! Fascinating. Stanley. What's our backstory? What is our motivation?
C'était dans le jeu original ou c'est dans la version Ultra Deluxe qu'ils ont mis ça? Est-ce que les gens qui ont joué vous reconnaissez du coup? Mais non, c'est mignon. Who Firewatches the Firewatch? C'est Firewatch, ouais, tout à fait.
And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Un chouette walking simulator. Hein. Même si vraiment, bah, c'est comme The Stanley Parable, il n'y a rien à faire. Hein. Surveillez qu'il n'y a pas de feu. Ah bah... je t'invite à le faire, Vigraph, il est assez court, c'est une bonne expérience. Ça aborde des sujets qui sont pas forcément faciles, mais qui sont toujours intéressants d'être abordés dans du jeu vidéo. Attends, à quel point la map elle est grande? Non! Oh non!
You really wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any. Oh, thank heavens we avoided.
Normalement, il y a les toilettes en bas.
We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game, preferably something with walls, something with nice, big.
Un jeu avec des bons gros murs infranchissables. Oh punaise, qu'est-ce qui va nous sortir? Ouais, Firewatch est sorti après 2013, donc c'est sûr que ça c'est dans la version ultra deluxe quoi. Oh putain. Ouais mais alors à pied on se fait un peu chier. Même pas le ballon. Est-ce que vous avez là?
Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Tout à fait, Coca. Ça fait très très longtemps que j'ai pas joué à Rocket League.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Alors. Oh, je vais de plus en plus vite. Non, oui, oui, oui.
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable...
Ah.
Hold on. What are you doing?
Oh non.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Ah. Il y avait un trou. Ok. Oula. C'est dur de savoir qu'est-ce qui est du jeu de base et qu'est-ce qui est avec la version ultra deluxe. Ils ont tellement intrinsèquement mélangé les deux. 427. Eh, c'est mon bureau. Le bureau du turfu. Je clique partout. Ça fait rien. T'aimes pas du tout Rocket League, Vigraph? Ah.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh yes. Yes.
D'ailleurs, Chaos, hein, il y a une émote animée Chaos hein, maintenant.
Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will
Vous avez fait gaffe? Il y a une nouvelles émotes sur le Discord et sur le chat. Ouais, en 2019 du coup, la Vanner.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much.
Ah oui, c'était Minecraft. Oui, c'est vrai. Putain, ouais, j'avais oublié la Vanner. Oui, c'est ça. Tu faisais, t'étais dans un truc de Minecraft, mais tu pouvais vraiment faire un aller-retour ou gauche-droite, et enfin t'as pas beaucoup de trajet. Ah merci Coca, vas-y. Elle y est pas les modes chaos hein? Les modes animés? Tu me mets le doute là. Non mais quand je l'ai vu passer sur le Guess the Game celui-là. Ah voilà. Qu'est-ce qu'on a pas fait? Ah, je crois que j'ai raté le saut, je l'ai pas vu. Ah si, je sais ce qu'on a pas fait. Oh, we can find them. Bottom text. There will be a reward for finding them all. Mission status. Ah, dans l'escalier. Ah, c'est cool d'avoir mis ça. Is this some kind of game? There'll be a fireplace. A private but smelly place for an in-person person. Trust the completionist instinct. Maybe we are the collectibles. Tellement. Thank you, good luck.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Eh, le dernier!
The last Stiggly Wiggly.
Stiggly Wiggly.
Stanley, this is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you would do.
Faut vraiment que je relance At in Time, hein. Faut vraiment qu'on se le refasse en live.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had
1, 2, B4, pourquoi pas?
Because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley.
Il y avait Portal? Ah, je m'en souviens moins, tiens.
Maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went?
C'est vrai ça, ils sont où mes pieds?
And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all.
Je tourne en rond pour rien du coup.
I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Ah bah tiens, c'est vrai ça.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am
Oh, c'est badant.
Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Nope.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Quoi? Oh la vache, c'était ultra badant.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of
Quoi?
work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a
Ah, c'est elle, la fameuse nana,
who
là.
stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk.
Ah, super.
And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body.
Ok, super. Hein.
And then she turned and ran.
C'était quoi cette fin? Oula! À chaque fois je me dis, bon, bah, je crois qu'on a fait le tour. Non.
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines, those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with...
Ah, bien sûr, absolument.
Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory
La
lane?
zone des...
I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Est-ce qu'on va voir la chanson? Now remembering when Stanley found the collectibles.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Je vais en prendre un, du coup, ça fait 7 sur 6. J'en étais sûr. 7 sur 6, tout va bien. C'est un peu flippant, par contre. Hein. Après, je flippe pour pas grand-chose, mais bon, quand même.
And here was a second Stanley.
Ah, ok, du coup, on les refait tous. Extrême bathroom.
Then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
Ok, du coup, la Lensbanner, je viens de tilter. Tu me disais tout à l'heure, il y avait Minecraft et qu'il y avait Portal. Et en fait, oui, c'est pour ça que dans la Memory Zone, donc qu'on a fait avant que tu arrives, il y avait un tableau avec Minecraft et Portal.
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember?
C'était là. C'était ici.
No. The warehouse was the 4th place you found
Ah.
Stanley, not the 3rd. Well, I guess perhaps
Oh, ça va.
Memories like these are so precious and so cherished that they all just sort of blend together, don't they? You know what? If the warehouse feels like the 3rd place you found a collectible, then who am I to go making judgments?
Je meurs du coup si je tombe. Ah, je peux pas tomber. Ah, je ne peux pas tomber. Ah bah ça c'est ouvert.
Let's see. What came next? Oh yes, we found a figly in this pink room.
Ah bon?
Oh well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Non, on n'est jamais venu ici. Ah là oui, à droite.
This was the 5th mini Stan, and this one was really something special. It was by the red and blue doors. I remember it so
Ouais, on a fait ça il y a 1 heure.
because this one is particularly special to me. I made a little video
Quoi?
to commemorate
Oh
the
punaise.
occasion. Enjoy.
Accrochez-vous à vos slips. Oh punaise. Ah, du Windows Movie Maker. Oh oui. Ah, ça sent bon les années 90-2000. Avec un bon vieux clip art. Best Boy narrateur starring Stanley.
Takes you back, doesn't it?
Oh la
I spent
vache.
a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
C'est bon? Attends. J'ai cru qu'on entendait le brouhaha des gens dans la salle. Brouhaha. Et oui, l'escalier en dernier.
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here, under the stairs. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
J'attends toujours qu'on me donne mon achievement. Hein. Vous êtes dans le présent.
And then
Oula.
there was no more. Because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone. No, I'm not done.
Durant l'écran de chargement, parfait.
Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
Mais punaise.
Okay, yes, that spot under the
Du coup, faut que je la repose. Ou j'en avais encore une.
All the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going. I want more. And here's where I made
Oh, la porte elle est inversée.
Don't you remember the video we watched?
Oh non.
Yes,
Oh
I
punaise.
love that video.
Mais alors cette
Still
salle...
don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room though, a solid room.
Ah. Les sous-titres qui sont passés à l'as.
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have neutered the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Ah, du coup là pour la blague je vais aller tout droit. Ah bah y'a rien.
This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figlarines. Oh,
18 sur 6, tout va bien.
memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Collectibles. Ah le saut. Enfin les sauts pardon.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories.
Non je peux pas sauter.
Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
Et mon bureau.
And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember.
Le title screen c'est ça? L'écran d'accueil du jeu.
Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
On m'a demandé l'heure au début du jeu. Je sais pas pourquoi.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Je prends pas encore le saut. Hein.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Du coup, ça là-bas, on a tout fait. On a fait les pièces en haut, on a fait...
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's
Ah mince.
incredible he wasn't fired years
Ah.
ago.
Ah bah super. Tout se ferme derrière moi. Parce que j'avais fait le truc du téléphone, mais j'avais le seau.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting.
C'est assez dur de se dire quand on a fini le jeu après. Hein.
Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking, this is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Qui ça?
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her.
Allô?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Oh!
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
Oh, mais quel trou du cul!
Here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Après, si tu veux vraiment finir le jeu à 100%, il y a toujours le jeu du bébé. Il y a vraiment un truc. Tu fais le jeu pendant 4 heures. Ah bah super.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Bonjour, on peut aller 427. Appuyez sur B sur votre clavier.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he
Il a pas de
pushes
four.
is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Ah.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life. But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Pour passer du temps entre potes.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world,
Le dîner, il a
he
changé.
began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions.
The line.
Down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Pour lire une histoire aux enfants.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Veuillez appuyer sur N pour dire à votre femme que vous l'aimez.
But there is
Ah bah
no
non.
answer. How could
Bah elle
there
est plus là.
possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Bon bah je vais aller me coucher. Hein.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it. You see?
Ah, ils ont mis ça sur Z.
How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Non, je remets en question. Je n'appuierai pas. Je n'appuierai jamais.
I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to.
Je suis un mouton.
But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again. Stanley pushed a button.
Oh la violence.
And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Oh la violence. Veuillez mourir. Bah non en fait parce que j'en ai pas très envie. Voilà. Oula.
Stanley knew the office layout like the back of his hand. It was only a matter of time before he found the others, wherever they were. Just a matter of time.
J'arrive pas à lire. C'est bon, tous les PC sont éteints. Sur le seau.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Incroyable, j'ai fait ce qu'on m'a dit. Je baille pas de fatigue là mais de faim.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Reboot le jeu entièrement. Ok. Stanley Parable 2. J'ai fermé du coup. Hein. Bah je rouvre hein, du coup. Moi j'ai déjà fait tout à l'heure. En midi 5, très bien. Ah attends, c'est midi PM je crois. Hein. Ouais c'est ça. Parce que pourquoi pas, hein, je sais pas pourquoi ils font ça. Hein, mais... Attendez. Coucou Tobobodo. Clique. Avant de commencer, est-ce que je peux dire quelque chose? Merci d'avoir réglé l'heure les 2 fois où vous avez lancé le jeu. Tant de gens ne prennent pas cette étape au sérieux, ils laissent l'heure régler sur midi et basta. Mais vous avez pris le temps d'indiquer l'heure et je vous en suis reconnaissant. Je sais ainsi que vous vous souciez de votre expérience, votre attention est focalisée sur le jeu. D'ailleurs, je n'ai aucun moyen de vérifier si l'heure que vous avez entrée est correcte. Je vais vous dire, nous allons passer un marché. Puisque vous faites preuve de tellement de bonne volonté, la prochaine fois que vous lancerez le jeu et verrez cet écran, vous n'aurez qu'à saisir votre heure préférée. Allez-y, choisissez l'heure que vous voulez, même si ce n'est pas la bonne heure, vous l'avez bien mérité. Sur ce, je vous laisse accéder au jeu. Quoi? Pourquoi 12h12?
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple.
C'est l'heure d'Obélix? Comment ça? 10h10.
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly.
Du coup, je me demande si le jeu te mettait un message différent si tu skippais, que tu mettais à midi à chaque fois. J'ai le même boulot que Stanley. Mais non, faut pas dire ça. Ah d'accord, Vigraph. Putain, la vache. Bon souvenir. Hein. Ah d'accord, la Banner. Bon, on va pousser un peu et puis oui, on arrêtera si vraiment on trouve rien.
Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained,
genre si je bouge pas là, est-ce qu'il se passe un truc? Quittez le jeu et relancez-le, il y a vraiment un succès pour ça. Voilà, je bouge pas, je travaille. J'adore l'eau. Dans 10 ou 20 ans, il n'y en aura plus. Non. Bon. C'est toujours pas la bonne heure, hein.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Bah moi sur dessus Tomobodo, il y a marqué que la dernière fois que j'ai lancé le jeu. Non, le dernier succès que j'ai eu, c'était en 2019. En septembre 2019, donc techniquement c'est bon, mais je sais pas si j'ai lancé le jeu depuis. Et là, dans cette version-là, Tomobodo, regarde, ne pas jouer à The Stanley Parable pendant 10 ans. Sur cette version-là.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he had the door on his left.
10 ans c'est long, le méga troll. On fait ça depuis Paris. Coucou ma Tita. Tita qui est dans son changement de train. Que je dois aller récupérer vers 15h30, c'est ça? Merci ma chérie. Merci de donner des sous à Jeff Bezos. Pour qu'il puisse aller dans l'espace avec ses copains milliardaires. Non, je continue. Je plaisante, hein, continue de faire des subs. Hein. Bon, il va falloir que j'y retourne, mais avec le saut, je sens. Hein. Ah si, je sais. Je sais ce qu'on n'a pas fait. Ok, je désabo, t'as raison. De rien, Jeff, on est comme ça, lui et moi.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number.
C'est pas 2485? Ah, 2845, pardon.
But of course, Stanley could get incredibly by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad. Stanley happened to input the correct code.
Tous efforts à faire pipi sous la douche, tout ça pour que Jeff balance tous mes efforts en 3 secondes. Et on descend. Ça s'est bien passé le train Tita? Les paraboles de Stan. Salut El Bisou.
Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself.
Y a pas le bouton skip.
To question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Allez go. D'ailleurs, c'est quoi parable? En anglais? Je suis jamais cherché. On va appuyer sur le bouton on à la fin. On avait fait off.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength?
Quelqu'un peut regarder la traduction de Parable, ça m'intéresserait.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each
427.
bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many
Là, c'est pas la seule image et qu'il n'y a pas de doublon, vu que c'est mon bureau à moi.
One of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Hop, là on appelle l'ascenseur.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's
Tellement
control
Matrix
all
cet
this
écran.
time? Was this the only reason
Je suis
he was
l'architecte.
happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been
Courbe dont
manipulated to
chacun
accept it
des points est
blindly?
situé à égale distance d'un point fixe ou d'une droite fixe.
No. He refused
Que-
to believe it.
Mais ça c'est une parabole. Ah mais parabole, c'est parabole
Someone
en
else's control?
anglais?
Never.
D'accord.
It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind?
Comment une courbe peut avoir les points qui sont situés à égale distance d'une droite?
But here was the
Ah oui, il y a les
proof.
boutons aussi
The
là.
heart of the operation. Controls labeled
Toujours
with
fermé, du coup.
emotions. Happy or sad or content.
1,
Walking, eating, working.
2,
All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided
truc,
that
là?
this machinery would never again exert its terrible
Non.
power over another human life.
Ah.
For he would dismantle the controls
3.
once and for all.
Bah, si le 4 il est là-haut, je suis marrant. Comment j'y monte ça? J'arrive pas à lire. Parce que là-bas j'ai le 5. J'ai 1, 2, 3, 5. « 0, 5, 2, 1, 1, 4, 2. Oh. Bon. À la base, on avait dit qu'on appuierait sur On. Sinon, ça veut aussi dire récit allégorique des livres saints sous lesquels se cache un enseignement.
He knew it was his duty, his
Pas
obligation.
vrai, les gars, sur le libre arbitre, les choix. D'accord. ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Tu poses tes questions à ChatGPT, c'est ça? On.
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself? Is that what
Oui.
you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go.
Ça remplace le moteur de recherche. Ok.
Turn the controls off.
C'est plus payant, ChatGPT, maintenant?
If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For
Ah oui,
example,
oui,
and
ok.
I believe you'll find this pertinent. Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system.
Ça va exploser.
Then that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear
Ok.
detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire
Des détonateurs nucléaires, carrément.
until detonation then, let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun,
Okay.
isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going.
Allez,
What all
4.
this means, I barely know where to start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway.
I'll tell you exactly what
Attends.
happened to them.
Sur les écrans, il y a écrit 1. Ok. Ah, il faut faire un certain ordre. Ah, bah j'ai déjà perdu une minute. 1. Ensuite. Comment ça, 1? Press any key to... Press any key to send power surge. Quoi?
I have to say this though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make
Activate button hit. J'écoute pas du tout ce qu'il raconte. Y'a quoi là-bas? Ah. Ça va exploser. Charge. Bah oui, mais je comprends rien. Je stresse.
You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley.
Depuis quand il y a du puzzle maintenant?
Oh dear me, what's the matter?
Mais quoi?
Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're
j'ai gagné du temps.
right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These number buttons, no, these colored ones, or maybe this big red button.
Active button, green.
Everything, anything, something here will save me.
Je comprends R. 2.
Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley.
5.
Quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world.
3.
That's fine.
C'est quoi 3? Faut que je maintienne 3. Je vais mourir.
Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds.
Goodbye, employé 427.
30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending. Just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully?
J'ai rien compris. En vrai, il y a peut-être juste rien à faire. Hein. Alors là, ça tremble un peu beaucoup, j'avoue. Je vois plus rien. Sans déconner, fallait faire quoi? Oh la flemme de recommencer. Fallait faire quoi? Il y avait un bouton et une couleur. Ah, peut-être que le saut va m'aider.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the darkness land.
Exactement.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where, coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
J'espère que le saut m'aidera.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Oula, j'ai accroché un câble.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Allez, go.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The
lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Ouais, oui, là, oulala, on se demande, hein.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped.
Attends, fais voir.
Like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it
Les gens qui ont fait les guides.
would be fine.
Le saut dans l'inconnu, le saut compagnon. Je suis un saut qui porte un saut.
Was the bucket
All ending and other
control
fun
facilities
secrets.
influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point,
C'est mon
he
fauve et
could
mon
trust
copain.
no one except for the bucket.
Je ne croirais que toi, le saut.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled
Oula, là, Roux, t'as manqué un gros bout. Hein.
or sad or content. Walking, eating, working.
Bah, avancer, c'est un grand mot.
Je
Je sais pas ce qu'il me reste à faire ou pas. Bah, du coup, si je fais la bonne fin avec le... Attends, en attendant. Toutes les fins. Oh, y a pas de souci là, Roux.
Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical.
Ouais, ça te met exactement le même dialogue, sauf que ça dit juste Stanley et le saut, quoi, pas juste Stanley.
Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country.
Mais quoi, mais... C'est quoi cet objectif?
Watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived
Simple.
with one another to lean on, to trust, to support. What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed?
Ah, ça c'est surprenant.
An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket.
No.
Stanley can't leave this place, not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Ok, c'était une fin. Alors attends. Ending, original ending, the canonical ending, kaboom, safe and sound, out of bound. Enfin, il y en a plein. Trigger warning, ah, suicide ending, oui. Quand tu tombes à côté de la plateforme. Museum ending, lack of a marriage story, you chose incorrectly. Putain, il y en a plein. Canonical ending. Ouais, du coup, en fait, c'est ça, pour chaque fin normale, t'as la version avec le saut. En même temps, on ne quitte pas l'entreprise avec le matériel du bureau. Kaboom. Exit machine, panique. Boom. Ah, il y en a une, attends. Hop.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision?
What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility?
Peut-être.
He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now,
Si on fait rien, les réponses viennent toutes seules, bien sûr.
he will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Ok, c'était une des fins du coup.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Tu vois, c'est une blague.
Ah, then in that case we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it
Tellement
if
méta.
I had brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even
La
longer?
fouc fouc.
How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not.
Je peux plus cliquer sur oui.
I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
Tu es coincé du coup? Bon bah, on va attendre. Hein. J'ai faim moi. Je vous ai mangé ici. Bon, bah je crois qu'on n'a pas le choix, hein. Alors.
Already this was uncomfortable, and Stanley decided that as soon as he found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
On fait pas les fins qu'on n'a pas encore faites. Attendez, je vérifie. Ah. Activate all 5 awaiting inputs. C'est vrai qu'on l'a pas fait. Ah, ok. Il faut reset le jeu à chaque fois qu'on en fait un. Et là, l'autosave qui troll. Oh, t'imagines l'enfer. Le jeu en aurait été capable. J'ai la liste des fins sur le côté. Je vais essayer de faire en sorte qu'on envoie un maximum. Donc, normalement, là... Ah, non. Il est déjà fait, alors 419. 423, ouais. Non, ça... J'étais déjà à 3. Ah, attends, dans ce cas-là... Le 419, le 423... Le 434 et mon PC à moi.
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped.
423 du coup. 434, il n'y avait pas. On avait fait les deux ici, 423. Ah, ok. Ah, faut recommencer du coup. 419. Puis 423. Le texte de début qui change à chaque fois. 423 était là. Là, faut remonter jusque chez le patron.
Stanley wondered to himself. Minutes? Days? Centuries? Did something crucial happen while my senses were turned? He made a note to be more careful with time.
8h34, le monde manger bon app. Bah t'as bien de la chance, Lance Banner. Moi je suis condamné à jouer à The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Bon app à toi.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Hop. 434.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like?
En vrai, j'aurais pu le trouver tout seul de toute façon parce que c'était c'était le dernier PC accessible et le dernier c'est là. Bienvenue Stanley au paradis. Quelle vie. Est-ce que c'est pas la meilleure vie? Ah. Oh punaise, ça va être long. On les fait tous? On les fait tous. Ah mince. Le monde des Skittles. C'est un méga troll, vous pensez? Il se passe rien. On peut les rallumer? Non, on peut pas les rallumer. Oh punaise. Attendez, il se rallume. Non, 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 non. Abort, abort. Si, il se rallume. Allez, tac, 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 tac. Tac. Plus que les verres. Il se rallume, hein. Ouais, il se rallume. Bon. Super fin. Voilà. Ouais, je regardais si celle-là, si je l'ai fait. Firewatch, Rocket League, ouais, c'est ce qu'on a fait. Hit the ball into the goal. Hit the big goal. Ok, celui-là on avait fait. Baby game ending. There is absolute no way I'm clicking that button for 4 hours. Il y a vraiment des gens qui l'ont fait. Attends. Baby game for hours. Il y a des gens qui l'ont fait. Complète baby game.
I now understand the true manifestation of this game. It needs a puppy. That's right. This puppy is being lowered toward an aquarium filled with nothing but piranha. Now you have to click the second.
Quoi? Au bout de 4 heures, t'as un... Ah d'accord, il te demande de faire 2 trucs en même temps. Mais c'est pas possible. C'est possible? Putain la vache, quel enfer. Il y a vraiment des gens qui l'ont fait. Ah, il a fait une version longue. Ok, donc à la fin, t'as un... Il a vraiment filmé les 4 heures, quoi. Donc il y a une fin. Ah, pas... ça va peur. Kick, punch. Museum ending. Stanley at the museum. Escape, drop. Ah, ok, il y a un truc qu'on n'a pas vu. Allez, go.
When Stanley came to a set of
De ouf, faites bisous.
he entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began what Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of
Mais non, mais sans déconner, je suis allé trop vite, du coup il m'engueule.
relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
Mais putain.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated,
Super.
Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Ah merde, j'étais dans le mur. Ah oui, on avait fait la fin avec le saut. La fin escape, on l'avait fait avec le saut, mais on l'a pas fait sans le saut. Ouais, donc c'est ça en fait, il y a une version alternative de chaque fin avec le saut.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward.
C'est un très long couloir. Donc on a vu la fin de tout à l'heure avec le musée du saut et tout. Ah mais... le câble là.
Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
No, 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 no. On a été sauvés comme tout à l'heure.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly. And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Encore un musée du coup.
When every
Oh,
path
différent.
you walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same.
Le musée Stanley Parable.
Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Le tableau de paysage qu'on peut voir dans les bureaux. Très joli. L'ordinateur de Stanley. Le plan du bureau. Ce plan vous montre le bureau au début de la partie. Le chemin entre le bureau de Stanley, les deux portes et le tout premier chemin conçu dans le jeu. Des sections ont été ajoutées et modifiées au cours du développement, mais l'organisation générale est restée presque inchangée depuis la première itération. C'est vrai, on commence là. Tac, 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 tac. Et ensuite ici aussi. Tac, 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 tac. Et pouf, on arrive aux deux portes. Les deux portes. Ces deux portes ouvertes constituent la toute première pierre du game design de The Stanley Parable. Une fois que cette salle a été créée, le reste du jeu a émergé à partir de ce point de départ, comme une exploration de la contradiction posée par cette pièce. Ordinateur de bureau. Je peux les éteindre ici aussi. Un bureau. Son de bouton. Des sélections de sons entendus dans le jeu à chaque utilisation d'un bouton. Chaque son est un mélange de frappe au clavier et de tonalités de synthétiseur. Remerciements. Ah, les crédits du jeu du coup. Et l'impeccable Kevin Brighting en tant que narrateur. Pas mal de gens qui ont bossé dessus quand même, hein. Le bureau. Salle de maintenance. L'une des premières versions de la salle de maintenance. La photocopieuse. C'est rigolo d'avoir mis un musée du jeu dans le jeu. Une sorte de making-of. Zone de guerre. Au début du développement, nous avons imaginé une fin où Stanley se retrouverait sur un champ de bataille contre des extraterrestres. le jeu développerait sa propre intelligence et partirait en guerre contre le narrateur. Nous avons réalisé peu après que c'était pousser la blague trop loin et que c'était peut-être trop plat par rapport au ton du jeu. Certains l'ont aussi vu comme une manière de nous moquer des amateurs de jeux de tir, ce qui n'est pas notre but. Annonce Ultra Deluxe. En décembre 2018, nous avons annoncé la version Ultra Deluxe de Stanley Parable aux Game Awards. Voici des captures tirées des vidéos présentées lors de l'annonce du retard du jeu. Moula! Email du narrateur. Après la deuxième bande-annonce que nous avons publiée, nous avons demandé aux gens d'envoyer des questions par email au narrateur. Nous comptions nous en servir pour promouvoir encore le jeu, mais nous n'avons jamais trouvé vraiment comment les exploiter. Voici une sélection de ces emails. Qu'est-ce qui se passerait si Stanley entrait dans n'importe quelle pièce? Sur une échelle de Max Ernst à Salvatore Dali, à quel point ce jeu est-il surréel? Ok, bon. La salle de pause. L'une des premières versions de la salle de pause. Attends. C'est la suite après ou... Ouais. Ah, bon, on va aller voir là-bas là. Le monte-charge. La deuxième version correspond à celle que nous trouvons dans la version finale du jeu. Mais nous voulions lui donner l'apparence d'un endroit où on stockerait des marchandises. Le monte-charge a toujours eu pour but de vous proposer de rester ou de sauter vers un autre embranchement. Cependant, après cette première version, nous avons décidé d'ajouter l'option où le joueur tombe et meurt. Ah, ça va sonner. Le minuteur de l'appartement. Dans l'une des premières versions du choix menant à la fin de l'appartement, un minuteur vous laissait 15 secondes pour décrocher le téléphone. Ne pas décrocher le téléphone menait à une autre fin. Plan de maintenance. Il était important de placer correctement les couloirs après les deux portes, car les joueurs allaient les emprunter plusieurs fois. Nous avons discuté d'un certain nombre de plans, mais finalement c'est la version la plus simple qui a fait l'unanimité. First choice, obey, disobey, lounge, maintenance, ouais. Deuxième option. Obey, disobey. The other entrance will be hidden depending on how you enter. Ok. Troisième option. To confusion ending. Ok. Et event. Ok. Ah. J'ai skippé une partie, je crois. On va aller voir là-bas. Maquette du game design. Voici le niveau que William, le level designer, a envoyé à Davey, le scénariste, en tant que proposition. L'efficacité de ce design a permis à William d'être engagé pour concevoir le jeu tout entier. Si l'environnement a beaucoup évolué, l'organisation originale proposée dans cette maquette est toujours dans le jeu. Bureau de Stanley. De gauche à droite, l'évolution du bureau de Stanley au fil du temps. Le premier date de novembre 2011, le deuxième de mars 2012 et le troisième de février 2013. Mais du coup, le musée, là, il était dans le jeu de base. Parce que la fin Escape, je l'aurais vu. Ah, j'avoue, c'est dur de dire qu'est-ce qui était dans le jeu de base et qu'est-ce qui n'était pas. La salle du compte à rebours, l'une des premières versions de la salle du compte à rebours. L'ascenseur. Pendant un moment, l'ascenseur de la salle des écrans pouvait monter ou descendre. Vous retrouviez la liberté en haut et le compte à rebours en bas. Nous avons laissé tomber cette idée, car les joueurs n'arrivaient pas à se souvenir de ce qu'il y avait en haut et en bas, et préféraient regrouper les deux fins. La fin de la liberté. Voici la fin de la liberté, telle qu'elle apparaissait dans la bêta. Bureau du compte à rebours. Oh, attends, je suis perdu, je sais plus où j'habite là. Ok. Il y avait par là. Fin de la liberté. La toute première version de la fin de la liberté pour l'alpha du jeu. Mais c'est un vrai labyrinthe ici. Alors, il est sorti justement pour sortir. Fin relaxante. Cette capture vous montre l'une des premières versions de la fin connue sous le nom de fin relaxante, finalement abandonnée et fusionnée à une autre partie du jeu. Levier de la fin relaxante. Ces leviers se trouvaient dans la fin relaxante. Le joueur devait actionner un levier et le narrateur décrivait la couleur du levier choisi. Modèle de fin relaxante. La fin relaxante a connu plusieurs itérations. Cette pièce est la 4e version de la fin, mais nous pensions l'avoir achevée, mais finalement nous l'avons abandonnée et modifiée juste avant la sortie. Rien du tout. Menu échappe. Pendant longtemps, nous avions une fin qui ne finissait vraiment que lorsque le joueur recommençait depuis le menu échappe. Malheureusement, beaucoup de joueurs ont compris que c'est ce qu'ils devaient faire, ce qui s'avérait frustrant pour tout le monde. Ok. Bande-annonce. Nous avons publié 4 bandes-annonces lors du développement du jeu, chacune destinée à dévoiler un peu de l'esprit du jeu. Voici la première sortie en mai 2012. Elle contient une série de pièces buggées et la voix du narrateur informant les joueurs qu'il est en train de réparer une nouvelle version de Stanley Parable. Ah, il n'y a pas le son. Tellement méta. Ok, ça on a vu. Ça on a vu. Bureau du chef. Capture d'écran. Oh là oui. C'était oh là, c'était tristouille avant. L'horloge du bureau. La salle de pause, le sous-sol. Scène coupée de narration. Kevin Brightning, la voix du narrateur, a enregistré les dialogues du jeu entier à peu près 3 fois au cours des 2 années du développement. Voici des extraits des premières prises qui ne figurent pas dans la version finale du jeu. Ah oui, il a fait un super taf, hein. Il a fait un super taf. Bon, je filoche des bisous, monsieur Tipyx, des bisous et Tipyxel, des bisous YouTube. Des bisous et le bisu. Ouais, je pense qu'on va s'arrêter là. Bah, attendez, de toute façon, voilà, on a fait le tour du musée. Hop.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save those two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game.
Ah bon?
As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you.
On a eu chaud, hein. J'ai failli mûrir. Ah, mauvais écran. Et ben voilà, c'était The Stanley Parable en version ultra deluxe. Je regarde, mais... Mais... Je crois que... Non, il nous reste les fins. Il nous reste pas mal de fins, notamment celle à faire avec le saut. Je sais pas, on verra. Soit je referai un petit live où on le fera, mais sinon... je sais pas, je vais réfléchir. Au revoir YouTube dans 10 ans. Ah bah non, pas dans 10 ans. Pour le succès. Où est-ce que je serai dans 10 ans? Bon, en tout cas, YouTube, voilà, merci d'avoir regardé. J'espère que ça t'a plu. T'as vu, c'était rigolo. Hein, c'est vraiment un jeu à part entière. Il y en a pas deux comme lui. Sauf si on compte le premier Stanley Parable. Donc voilà, je te fais des bisous. J'invite à venir nous suivre sur Twitch, à suivre la chaîne là, à suivre la chaîne YouTube principale où il y a le best-of qui est sorti. Et puis voilà, des bisous. Ciao.